Today on Meat Revival, Texas style brisket.
Welcome back to Meat Revival. This is our second in the series of 3 of different briskets. Today we've got Mark Lambert from Sweet Swine of Mine is going to show us kind of his method on doing a brisket. This is kind of what would you say, an IBCA Texas style?
Typically, yeah. I've only done a couple of IBCA contests, and I really enjoy them. I enjoy...
Wait, didn't you just win a big IBCA, like within the last couple months?
Well, it's kind of IBCA style.
Okay.
But it just had the Houston Livestock Show Rodeo World Championship.
Oh, okay. So it's a World Championship brisket right here.
Pretty much. Pretty much. We're going to speed things up a little bit, but we're going to show you pretty much how we did it. But I like the IBCA brisket. You don't turn in burnt-ends. You turn in slices. And you don't have to worry about a lot of crazy trimming. All we really did to trim this brisket was we took a little bit off of the point side, as you'll see here. We just trimmed it down flat to where it would lay even, because we're going to cook it meat side up. We trimmed it down just so it would lay flat, and then we took the big kernel of fat right out here, out of where the point and the flat meat right on the end, and just kind of straightened it up on the very top. Still got a little silver skin, no big deal, but that's really essentially how we're going to turn this in. We're going to slice this across once it gets cooked. The IBCA guys we notice in Lone Star and the guys at the Houston Rodeo, they always leave a lot more fat on the brisket slices when they turn them in. I've noticed that. Those guys trim it just like this, and they've got that extra large ribbon of fat on it and a little bit of meat left on the bottom of it as well. So they just trim it to where it lays flat. Like you say, flat. Where there's fat, there's flavor, so they're not afraid to leave it on. All we're going to do to this after the trim is we've just whooped up in a little injection bottle. This is just a little Kosmos Reserve injection, and we're going to go in here and inject it throughout on a grid pattern just to make sure we get good even. And here's a little trick when you're injecting amongst friends, is to keep your hand.
So we don't catch some rogue injection in the eye?
Yeah, you get a little shrapnel. It's good to have just a little hand to cover and make sure that you don't get it everywhere. One on the side of your walls and the other up in your friend's eye, or on his fancy new white Columbia shirt or something like that.
That sounds like experience talking.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that. So a grid pattern, went in one direction, I just come back across and make sure that I get good even.
So you're kind of doing that at an angle too, you're not going straight down into the meat.
Right. At an angle. I don't know if it's just out of habit that I do that more. Or,
I think it's probably easier
to
do that.
You're just having your hands straight up going in and out, especially with those pistol type injectors.
And you can see it starting to swell up, and the more I'm injecting it, the more I'm seeing that it's starting to pop. The injection's starting to squirt out in different places.
Right.
So to get to a point where it's saturated, it's not going to take it anymore.
And that's what I'm starting to see. I'm starting to see a lot of it start to come back out. And I'm just hitting it a little bit each time and trying to pull out the needle as I do it to make sure you get good even coverage throughout the brisket. And I've used about half of that bottle, and that's just about right.
About normal?
Yeah, it's about normal.
All right.
So, I've got a little bit of juice left in the bottom of that. Just drained it off a little bit. Now, I'm going to sop up some of that and clean this up and get it ready to rub down. I've got me a trash can handy. And we're just going to dump a little bit of that out. Now then, my rub process is going to be pretty simple. It's got a couple of layers. My buddies at Boars Not Out, they're white lightning, salt, pepper, onion, garlic. It's got a little MSG in it. and a little bit of sugar, which really helps caramelize and make the bark stand out.
Okay.
Now we've used that a couple times here, and that's a nice rub.
It's pretty good on just about everything. Anything from popcorn to green beans to brisket.
Popcorn to green beans.
I got a little, I've been experimenting with my own brisket rub, and version like 1.2 here is entirely too much black pepper in it. So what I do is I just use this as a black pepper base, is my next layer for black pepper when I'm doing brisket or anything like that, or even steak I've used it on. Next layer, at the Houston Rodeo BBQ, Joey Smith and I and Scott Guy were the cooks in the World Championship, and Joey's Texas Chrome was an integral part in a second place brisket. It's got other than its large cracked black pepper, it's a pretty standard barbecue rub. Lower sugar than most. And we get a nice layer of that, and then University Q quad rub right back on over the top. Gives us some good color.
I know those guys.
A little bit of sugar. Nice color.
Yeah.
And it's just a good top coat. Gives it a real pretty finish to it.
Yeah, it does.
A little bit of sugar in there is going to really help it bark up nicely.
Oh, a little sugar makes everything better.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. We'll flip this guy over, and we're going to do the same thing to this fat side, because when we turn IBCA brisket in, we turn the fat in with it.
And when you do the IBCA, you have to turn the whole slice in. You can't trim it once it's cooked. Is that correct?
That's right.
So when you're actually prepping for the trim, you got to know how that box is, and
if I'm not mistaken, if your slice is too long, you just have to kind of curl it.
Curl it around. You can't lob it off.
So like with the KCBS, you can cut those ends off.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't do that. So you're talking about the Houston Livestock Show. How many teams were there?
And I'm going to say it's around 300 teams or so.
Wow.
And we were real fortunate. We had, first year we went, we were invited as Operation BBQ Relief last year because of our involvement in Harvey, in Hurricane Harvey. When Houston flooded, we fed almost 400,000 people in about 13 days. And Houston was very appreciative of it, and they invited us to come cook, give us a spot in the rodeo.
Okay, now you said 400,000 in 13 days.
387,000 in 13 days.
387,000 meals,
hot meals distributed, some in part directly by OBR and some through a partnership with the Salvation Army.
Okay. Still.
Huge.
Yeah, that's
huge.
amazing.
Yes, and it was just a small part of the relief effort in Houston, but they were very appreciative, and they showed their love by giving us a spot, and all the dignitaries coming involved, shook our hands.
Sure.
It was really nice.
Good.
So that first year, we looked up and got 6th place overall. We got 3rd in ribs, 11th in brisket, and somewhere down around 100 in chicken. And we're still figuring out how they want chicken turned in. But this year, we did a little better in brisket. We did a 2nd brisket and tied for 3rd in ribs.
Wow.
And had chicken up at about 80th, somewhere in there. I think if you take the ties out, it's a lot higher. But at the end of the day, we won by over a point. Won the overall.
Win's a win.
Win's a win. We made the finals in 2 categories. So
now, Mark, when you prep this, how far in advance will you prep before you cook?
Man, we usually do it the day before, the night before. When everyone's starting to wind down and get ready to go home, we'll inject this thing early.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and inject it early, say even 5-6 hours early.
Okay. And
we'll throw it in a Canberra with some ice. And then when we get ready to go home, pull this dude out, dab it off a little bit, do our layers of rub, and then put it back in the Canberra and head back to the camper or hotel and get back there that next morning. IBCA, you're lucky. You don't have to put this thing on terribly early. About 7 a.m., you can throw this thing on.
Because the turn-ins are later.
Turn-ins are later.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And as much as an hour between turn-ins.
Oh.
Yeah. I have seen them an hour and a half between turn-ins.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I can get a little bit more for an even coat. Look at that colors and all that is really nice. I like a little bit more black pepper, and so does Texas. So it really works for IBCA or BCA, either one.
That's good looking right there.
Yeah,
but
it is.
It's a well-trimmed and well-seasoned brisket, and we're going to put that dude on the offset smoker and let it roll until it gets a beautiful bark on the outside. We may spray it every once in a while just to kind of keep it moist. But once it barks up and starts to swell up nice, we'll wrap it up in a pan with a little more injection and a little beef broth. wrap it up nice and tight, and cook it until I like to cook till it's around 205, 204. And then I'll go in with my individual handheld probe and check it for feel and see how tender it is. Sometimes it's ready at that temp. Sometimes it needs 3 or 4 or 5 more degrees.
Yeah, just because it's that temperature doesn't mean that it's done, it's ready.
No, every piece of meat's different. You want to treat it accordingly, and you have to really feel it to know when it's right.
Well, and it'll let you know when it's done.
Yep.
You know,
It talks to you.
It does. It does. But no, you see a lot of, like, on the Facebook forums, you know, how long do you cook your brisket until? And you always get the smart aleck that comes in and says, till you're done.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
Right.
I can tell you to cook it to 202, and it can either be way overcooked, or it can be tough as shoe leather because it's still way undercooked.
Yeah.
But that's the makeup of the brisket.
Right.
I mean, that's all way you can explain that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Depending on what they're cooking and
the
what
more
temperature they're cooking.
The more you cook them, the better you start to get that feel.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's what you see, you know, people starting off, especially a backyarder moving from backyard to pro,
Right.
having to come in and cook that brisket.
That's right.
That's pretty intimidating.
So
hopefully we'll be able to make some of that easier.
simple process. It's gonna be a really good Easter tomorrow.
Yeah.
So when you put that on, you're gonna put it on fat side up, fat side down.
You know, if I'm gonna cook a contest, it's gonna go fat side down, just like it sits in the pan here. Now, if it was me eating at home and I was gonna cook a brisket for myself at home, which I don't do, I would typically cook it fat side up because I like caramelized fat on the top of my brisket. I like to be able to cut through that and have that ribbon of caramelized fat all the way across the top of each slice.
But you know, also if you do that, if you finish it off fat side up and you slice that way, it helps hold your slices together too.
Absolutely, it does. It really makes it all stick together.
Yeah.
So,
but in a competition type setting, the judges are going to look at that and they want to see that smoke ring, they want to see that bark, you know.
yep.
It's a completely different animal from I'm going to eat it at home or I'm going to cook for competition.
Yep, totally different deal. This is one bite wonder. That's why we do all the injection.
Yeah.
We put layers of rub. You know, you gotta really go that extra mile. And at home, you might eat 2 or 3 slices. You know, contest brisket. If you eat one whole slice, you've done something.
Yeah,
there's a lot of it. It's a lot of pow.
Yeah.
So that's true.
All right.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate it, guys.
Barbecue aficionado. He's not just another pretty face.
Okay, so now we're back here. This is the brisket that Mark Lambert prepped last night. Mark's gone to church this morning for all of us, thank goodness. So we're going to go ahead and take care of his brisket. This is the Texas style. I could tell you what all he put on there, but I don't remember. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on. We're going to do it the same way. We're going to do it the fat side down the whole time, and then we're going to wrap in a little while. Maybe Mark will show up by then, but if not, we'll go ahead and take care of it for him. So we're just going to open up, put it beside the other one, like so. And we're going to just let the champion just do her thing. Thanks, guys. Okay, so now we've got ours done, so now we're going to do the one that Mark did last night. You come in here and take a look at it, and we're looking just about the same as what the other one was because they're cooking side by side. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and wrap up the one that Mark did last night. You can see by looking at it that it's almost as like my other one was. They're sitting side by side, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of difference. What he does different is he takes it and puts it in a pan with a little of the marinade or the injection that he used, and then just covers the pan. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm guessing since we're cooking it fat side down, we're going to keep it fat side down. So we're going to take his injection now, or his marinade, because I'm not sure what it was. And I guess probably pour it all over the top of it, and then pour it kind of slow so it'll kind of, some of it will stick. Meat's hot. It wants to just kind of run off. There we go. So now we'll just take the oil, cover that up tight. That's just going to kind of make a steam bath out of it at this point. You know, people say, well, why do you got to wrap it? Why do you got to boil it? Why do you got to do this? You know, when you put your brisket in there and you put the heat and the smoke to it, you get all the color you want. This has been in there 2 hours. It's the color that I want. So once I get to that, all we're going to do is speed the process up. You know, so I got a color I want. All I want to do is get done. So we wrap it in foil, we put it in a pan, however you want to do it. All you just need to do is get to the end game. So we're going to watch this for a little while. A couple hours at the most, we'll be done. We'll let it rest. We'll be back.
Well, when I pick this thing up, I can tell, look at that. She's just super soft and just, I mean, it could just break it in half real easy if you wasn't watching.
It's almost kind of sexy, isn't it?
I mean, just the shake, you know, that brisket shake?
The jiggle?
Watch it shake. Oh, yeah. It's ready to cut. We're going to start over here. You can kind of see, if you put too much rub on it, it's really kind of hard to see the direction of the grain a lot of times, right?
Right.
But
So
my imagination, or is it right there?
I think it's right there. But you know, you can kind of cup under one side and you'll find the grain
Right there.
yeah, just like you were looking. So you're just going to start down here. You're going to go directly across the grain.
Mm-hmm. Here's the deal. It seems like to me if it's overcooked a little bit, meaning if it's wanting to fall apart, I won't go directly across it. I'll kind of turn it at an angle a little bit, and it seems to hold together a little bit better. If it's undercooked a little bit, then you want to make sure and go straight across. You know, we're going to go across and see, and if I wind up having to change my angle of attack, I'll do it.
You still got time to do it.
Yeah, you still got time to do it. Boy, it just slides right on through it. That little end right there. It's pretty.
Boy, it's just a pinkish little smoke ring.
Sure is. So we'll cut a few little slices off here. I should have turned it around so y'all can see it better, but I'll move it out of the way. It can it can stand a little more cooked, but I'll tell you what, that right there is going to be good in the fridge for 4 or 5 days on sandwiches with white bread.
Yeah, exactly. You know, brisket doesn't have to be cooked so it's just falling apart.
It really does.
You want to leave a little texture to it.
But that's juicy. It's got lots of good color. See that little ribbon of fat, how we trimmed it? We didn't cut all the fat off of it. That's a perfect little amount of fat.
I like the fat.
For that mouthfeel, that flavor. Hey, look at that. It is just right. That next slice, we get a little bit thicker ribbon of fat.
And the fat will get thicker the further you go up the point too, right?
It'll get a little bit thicker, that's right. And actually, as we get closer into where that point was, we'll get just a little bit of meat.
Yes.
Look at that. Tell you what, always leave a little bit of fat on your brisket in my book.
Yeah.
It's got to be there. That's one of the reasons you eat brisket in the first place, because it's got such a good fat percentage and it's so rich. It's got a lot of connective tissue. It's rich. This develops a lot of flavor.
But yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the fat absorbs a lot of flavor.
It does. It really does.
And I always figured if that fat was off the end, or if you cut the fat, if you were going to turn this in and you cut that fat off of the end right there, that end starts drying.
It will.
Immediately.
It will. It's a good little insulated layer there. So, if you learn something about brisket, leave a little bit of fat. Bottom line. Well, you'll see a few different styles of brisket, but at the end of the day, we're cooking, eating style brisket here. If you were going to cook this to IBCA, it's not cooked quite enough.
Yeah.
We're going to eat this, so we want it to last a little while. We're not going to turn it into one bite. So
that's right.
We're not going to go in and cook it down to IBCA standards. And a lot of times when we've done that in the past, that's been as high as 212, 213 degrees.
Right. Yeah.
We stopped this one, around 202?
Yes.
Yep. So.
And the truth is, when you cool this back down, you're going to reheat it again, so you're taking that temperature back up again.
You're losing moisture every time you do that.
Every time.
Well, cool. Guys, I think it was a success.
I think so too. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for checking us out today on Meat Revival. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you can get all the latest updates. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. We'll see you next time.